The scripture again is Proverbs 4:23. Be careful what you think, because your thoughts run your life. As metaphysicians, we believe in divine order, or we may call it natural law. In the universe, we believe there's natural law and divine order. Our belief is that there is intelligence, a set of rules that predict cause and effect. These rules apply to everything in the universe, from the physical to the metaphysical, beyond the physical, our thoughts and actions. We also believe in individual free will. We believe each of us makes his or her own decisions. The resulting effect of our thoughts and actions are predicated by divine order, natural law. Now, we can use our knowledge of natural law and our free will to direct our lives. We can learn to expand our perspective and visualize our own personal journey. How do we reconcile the paradox of the belief that we're in control of our lives with the real day-to-day stress and angst that we sometimes experience? If we understand natural law and we believe we have free will, why does it sometimes feel like we have no choices? You might go to a worship service or read at home, and the universe seems to make sense. You get that feeling, that warm, fuzzy feeling that things make sense. You may experience a peace of mind and inner knowing that everything's going to be okay. And then a situation or a person suddenly pushes your buttons, and you react without thinking. You might go to work in a great mood, getting a lot done, coworkers doing great, everything's working fine, and then you open that one email, and it's just out of left field, and it just disrupts your whole day. In an instant, our peace of mind can be overcome by an email, a comment. We can all relate to this part of being human. Do you remember a number of years ago, a flight attendant, Stephen Slater, after 20 years of service, cursed the passengers, grabbed his baggage, didn't forget to grab a beer, and he used the emergency slide to exit the plane. He just checked out. How many times have you wanted to just check out? All of us have thought about it from time to time, but we usually control ourselves and don't act on our impulses. In a written statement to the Queens County District Attorney's Office, Slater said, "I lost patience after a passenger had an argument with another passenger and then opened the bin door, hitting me on the head without apologizing." Slater also told police that his father had recently died and that his mother had cancer at the time. A passenger on the flight said she hadn't seen the fight or the slide deploy. She said, "I just thought it was someone who was angry and was just giving a what you would imagine, a fantasy quitting speech. What would I do if I was going to quit?" He sounded like he was fed up, not angry, so I wasn't scared or anything. How does a situation like this occur? How can a person in an instant, after a 20-year career, say or do something totally out of character that permanently affects the rest of their life? And it was someone he didn't even know. Our minds are powerful. Many of our daily actions are necessarily involuntary. We couldn't possibly think over every single thing we do. Tying our shoes, walking, taking a shower, driving, cooking. We don't have to give these activities much attention. We can switch between tasks also without paying attention. We might talk on the phone and work on the computer at the same time. The power of our mind to just handle daily functions habitually is amazing. The same ability of our mind to take control and repeat automatic physical behavior extends to our decision making, our conversation style, and importantly, our emotional responses. We know how programmed so many of our emotional responses are. The same way we might drive to work without really having to think about what we are doing, we also develop automatic responses with our family members, our coworkers. and based on past experiences. We react to situations without thinking. Our thoughts are things. When we give thoughts energy, we direct our consciousness to those thoughts. The flight attendant, Stephen Slater, said he wanted to use one of those emergency slides for years. He thought about it a lot, and he eventually did it. He had 20 years of service. He allowed one rude passenger he did not know to adversely affect his entire life. And the most important thing, he was not thinking about what he was doing. He was not present and mindful when he reacted. He had rehearsed this moment so many times that his mind did not know the difference between his fantasy thoughts and his real behavior. His behavior automatically mirrored what he had been daydreaming and thinking about. We've all heard, be careful what you wish for. In the years preceding the slide incident, what other ways could Stephen Slater have planned or fantasized about his response to a stressful situation? It's happening every day at work. After every frustrating incident, he could have visualized himself calm and in control, being the quiet in the storm. He could have been thinking about how much he would enjoy his time off and not having to deal with the stressful part of his job. He could have been creating a mindset that would have resulted in a different outcome in a stressful situation. He could have made a conscious decision not to allow passengers to affect him on a deep personal level. Using a common analogy, he was seeing the glass as half empty. Through many years of seeing the glass as half empty, he eventually just got to the point that he saw no option but to take an aggressive path. He left himself no alternatives except to check out. His mindset, his repetitive thoughts over many years created and actually programmed into his consciousness an inappropriate response. I'm sure many of us have thought things, this is going to happen, why am I going to do this? And eventually it's the way you view the world. Your thoughts start viewing the world. And it gets outside of your wisdom and your consciousness. It's just that brain, that computer just being programmed. An extreme example of unexplainable behavior is the frequent, consistent gun violence taking place in our country right now. Many of the shootings are planned well in advance by young people. And the final violent acts, much like Stephen Slater's, are they just automatically checking out? Have they just thought about it so often? After a lifetime of feeling ignored or bullied or unloved and thinking about defending themselves, could a person just check out and do the unthinkable? Obviously with Stephen Slater, that's exactly what happened. You can imagine some young people just being bullied their whole life and feeling defenseless. Do these people just overcome with a situation, mirror their own repeated thoughts? Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they actually are. People crave certain experiences and reject and push away other experiences. They try to push or pull, force reality into the way they want it to be. And even if they get it just right, just the way they want it, in the next moment, things change. And so they continue to want things to be different. And they suffer. Pain in life is a given. Suffering is optional. Suffering is dependent on your thoughts. If you keep replaying something in your mind and you continually replay it, the negative effect, you feel that. You feel that hurt repeatedly. And that is suffering. Being accepted as it was, accepting what happened, and then moving to the next present moment. Buddhism would teach that you can prevent a lot of that suffering. Mindfulness is an antidote. Mindfulness is the practice of being in the present and allowing whatever arises to be. This allows you to be aware in any situation. Mindful awareness is an open and receptive attention, but it is also a discerning attention, which invites insight. This allows one to see clearly which experiences and thoughts lead to greater suffering and which ones do not. In this way, you can determine which aspects of the mind are wholesome, leading to the well-being of yourself and others, and which are not. We can see in Stephen Slater's situation, he just kept staying on the injustice of people in his job. And that program just kept in his mind. So when we say that mindfulness allows and accepts whatever is present, this is true. However, it also discerns between the wholesome and the unwholesome. Yes, this happened. Maybe grabbing a beer and opening the slide is not beneficial to me. But in his mind, that's all he saw. Productive and unproductive thoughts. In a mindful state, the individual is free to select which reaction and thoughts to concentrate on. Now, we can live on automatic pilot, being pushed and pulled by unconscious tendencies and habits, not fully awake to what's happening now. We all know this from the relationships with our brothers and sisters and our parents when we're little. Those relationships just seem to continue on, very hard to change. To counteract this conditioning, you can train your mind to the innate capacity to be with and understand an experience as it arises and declines. This requires sustained practice, the intentional training of the mind to pay attention in a caring, discerning way. And one type of training is formal mindfulness meditation training. At the deepest level, mindfulness is about freedom with a purpose. Freedom from negative reflexive patterns and reactions, and ultimately freedom from suffering. A great ailing Zen meditation teacher was asked at the end of his life to summarize all his teachings and answer the question, what is the teaching of an entire lifetime? And he replied, an appropriate response. By learning to be present, we can break the cycle of automatic, inappropriate, or negative responses and learn to respond consciously and appropriately. With willful intent, we can learn to slow down and observe our thoughts. With a consistent meditation practice, we become more and more accustomed to a quieter state of mind. Having the muscle memory of a peaceful state of mind, the more we will recognize. As it's happening, we will recognize physically and emotionally when our mind or our emotions are starting to take control. If we experience that peaceful state enough, it becomes our natural state. And then when we start getting outside of it, we can recognize it. It gives us half a second to take a breath before we react. Having that ability to recognize when our minds start going on automatic pilot gives us a chance to think about what we're going to do. You could rethink your automatic script. Plan what you're going to do when these situations arise. Stephen Slater could have intentionally changed how he was going to react when the next issue arose. He chose to think about checking out, instant gratification at any cost. Now, I don't believe he ever really thought he would really do what he did. I mean, most of us, it's a nice dream, but most of us would not do that if he had a chance to think about it. He eventually acted the exact way he was thinking. His daydreaming thoughts actually created his reality. He created it. Thoughts are things, and with repetition, they remain with us. So how would you modify learned behavior? How could you modify something you'd like to change in your life? First, you visualize your behavior the way you would like it to be. Pray for the condition you desire. Meditate with the intention of allowing the universe to assist you in reprogramming your non-productive habitual behaviors. And this is key. This is the most important part of this metaphysical lesson. And the mistake most people make. People try to push away the unwanted behavior. Praying that you will not get mad in traffic reinforces that feeling of being mad. You're feeling that thing. I don't want to get mad. I don't want to get mad. The practice is to direct your attention to what you desire, to practice being in the state of mind you want. Pray and visualize yourself being calm in traffic. You might see yourself enjoying the privacy of your car, listening to music. Think about and visualize what reaction you would like to have when a situation occurs. See yourself in that state of mind today and now, and continually practicing that. We know when we meditate, we can just have intuitions. When we go into meditation, we can put out there, the universe, what would I need to do to be able to do X? And we know in that silence, we get intuition. Somehow the synapses start connecting and we get insight. When you're driving, this is just an easy example in this area. When you're driving and you're getting annoyed in traffic, be aware of what you're feeling and what you're doing. Are you tightening your grip on the steering wheel? You start feeling yourself grabbing that. Is your jaw getting tight? Are you angry at other drivers? Using a few choice words? Being present and mindful, just observing your thoughts instead of letting them run wild. You can make the intention. You can make the intention right then, pay attention to my breath. Laugh at yourself for getting angry. Because you know, no matter how angry you get, the traffic's not going to clear up. It's going to be what it is. So we set the intention now to just, it's going to happen, so there's no reason to get mad. Some person you've never known in your life pulls in front of you, you start goofing around and you have a fender bender. We know that's no use to anybody. You can be thankful you have a car, a job to go to, that you left in plenty of time, that even with the traffic, it's not really going to affect your day. It's just a few minutes. But by learning to observe, using this example, by learning to observe your behavior in traffic, because we do it almost every day, you can learn to modify any part of your behavior. It's that practice of paying attention to your physical, your emotional, your mental reactions. By paying attention to them, you can practice everyday learning to calm yourself. You can acquire the tools to modify any behavior you want by just learning that one. Every mindset can be transformed to a more positive one. If you have issues sleeping at night, visualize yourself sleepy and in bed at a certain time. In bed, meditate on your body being relaxed. See yourself waking up refreshed at one time and at a certain time in the morning when you want to get up. All these are just thought control mechanisms that metaphysics tell us should work. When work is stressful, visualize yourself happy and efficient at work. Pray and meditate for guidance concerning any issues. But see yourself in the situation you'd like to see yourself. This is the subtle power of metaphysics. Using the wisdom of natural law, the knowledge of free will, and learning to apply it in your lives. You can decide how you're going to feel when you wake up tomorrow morning. Right now, you can make a conscious decision how you're going to feel tomorrow morning. And what will you have to do that? Get in bed at a decent time. Don't be eating ice cream at 11:30 at night. You know, we do what we need to do to get up tomorrow feeling good. Decide tonight how you're going to react tomorrow in traffic, with coworkers, with significant others. Each of us has the power and free will to direct our thoughts and take control of our lives. Blessings.